Alright guys, welcome back to Miller RC. Today we're doing a review on the 60-inch laser EXP version 2 from Extreme Flight. This is an ARF kit, which means you have to supply all the electronics, radio gear, battery, all the electronics, and some building skills to get it flight ready. So let's go over some specifications real quick. The wingspan and the length are 60 inches across, the wing area is 760 square inches, and the weight's going to be anywhere around 5 to 6 pounds. Being that this is an ARF kit, they do have some recommendations for electronics. As for servos, they recommend Metal Gear mini servos with a torque rating minimum of 76 ounces. Dubro long super strength servo arms work great, or you can use Extreme Flight 1.25 inch aluminum servo arms as well. As for servo extensions, they recommend 6-inch extensions for the ailerons and 24-inch extensions for the elevator and rudder. As for motors, they recommend the Torque 500 kV version 2 brushless outrunner. The ESC they recommend is an Airbus Elite 80 amp ESC, and the battery recommendation is a 6S 33 to 4000 milliamp LiPo, and for the prop it is a 16.7 wood electric style. So that's what they recommend. Let's go over what I have in my model that you're seeing in front of you. I'm using the recommended 16.7 inch wood electric prop from Falcon, the brand's Falcon. I'm using the recommended Torque 500 brushless outrunner motor up in the front. And then a nice alternative to the Airbus Elite 80 amp ESC, and I believe this ESC is also advertised on Extreme Flight's website, is the Castle Talon 90 amp with the 20 amp BEC, which is really nice. And then as long for flight batteries, I am using this 3700 milliamp 6S 65C, and that works really good. And then I am not using the 20 amp BEC, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. I'm using a 2-cell 450 milliamp to power that. Alright, so one thing I want to mention is this comes in 3 colors. Obviously you see the color schemes. You see the one in front of you is the red and white. This here is the yellow and blue. And here is a view of the bottom. My camera's going to kind of wash out the blue, so it's just what it is. And then here it also comes in this Thunderbird scheme, I think is what they call it. And then down the bottom is what it looks like right there. And then the red and white one, like I have here, looks like this on the bottom. Kind of a little bit like a Super Decathlon. Zoom it out just a little bit. Okay, so I want to talk about some things that were included in the kit that we're really impressed with. First off, being this Cyclone 63mm spinner. And it's actually a really nice spinner. It has a really nice aluminum backplate. It has the grooves to mount your brushes, to keep your brushless motor from turning when you tighten the prop nut. And it actually uses M3 fasteners to secure the spinner to the backplate. I prefer the look of the Elite Series spinner, so that's the one I went with. And then they do give you this wing bag to transport your wings in, and it's really cool. This is kind of a custom wing bag made for these 60-inch airplanes. It has both the wing pockets in it, and then it has the wing tube pocket there, and then in the middle there's a pocket to house your side force generators in. So that's really neat that they include that. Alright, let's talk about a little bit about the build process of how they want you to put it together. They first have you install the control horns in the ailerons, and then hinge the aileron into the wings. Install your servos, install the linkages with control horns. Then you get pretty much done with the wings. They have you bolt on the landing gear and the wheels and put the wheel pants on. And then when they have you install a horizontal stabilizer, there is a block you have to cut out at the rear of the fuselage to get the horizontal stabilizer in the plane, but it tells you on the manual how to do it. And then this here shows you how version 1 used to do it. You know, you do it the traditional way. You cut the covering and measure from wingtip to wing, from the wingtips to the horizontal stabilizer to make sure it's squared up. Well, this is version 2, and the difference they have with that is it's kind of a keyed-in slot deal, and you just push it in, and it's automatically squared from the factory. Now, I checked mine for squareness, and it was 100% absolutely dead zero on, so it's really great that they do that from the factory, so you just can slide it in and glue it in. Reduces quite a bit of working time. Then they have you hinge the elevator, install the control horn, hinge the rudder, install the rudder control horn, bolt on the tail wheel, install the tail servos, linkages, bolt the motor on, install the ESC, install the cowling, install the wings, and then the side porch generators and all that. Alrighty, so I'm going to cut the video here and take a closer look at the plane. Alright guys, we're going to take a closer look at the plane. As you can see, I got the canopy and the SFG off, because I want to show you a few more things there. It's a basic side porch generator, not a big deal, but it's really light and it's greatly covered, so good job there. Here's the clear spacer that they give you, just so your aileron isn't rubbing on the SFG at full travel. And then on the thumb screws, they give you these little rubber grommets, which is pretty cool, so you don't mess up your covering on the SFG. So, really nice touch that I did there. I really like that. Here's the landing gear. Look at the landing gear. It's a carbon fiber style. You see we got landing gear fairings right there, which is pretty neat. It uses 4 bolts to secure the fuselage, and then the wheel pants use the axle and this wood screw to make sure they don't spin on takeoffs and landings, which is really nice. Alright, so here's the inside of the plane. This is where version 2 differs from version 1 quite a bit. It uses a lot more carbon fiber than version 1 does. And then here's the battery areas. You see plenty of room to adjust the center of gravity with this type of battery tray and area. For me, I'm all the way at the wings tube, and that's where I really like it as far as the way it flies, so that's where I'm at. There's the 90 amp ESC where the zip tie is at, so that's kind of where I placed it. And then obviously here's the wire and so forth. So one note on the wing tube here is it's a very good balance point for you guys to start when you made in this. So right on the wing tube is where you want to balance it when you first fly it. Here is the receiver, very basic installation as you see on this tray, and it's pretty basic. They do give you these holes so you can route your servo wires through and kind of tidy it up, so that's nice. And then there's the wing bolt to hold on the wings, and then we have 2 anti-rotation pins as well. And you probably won't be able to see them, but they're there. And it works really good. The wings don't come out during flight, so that's good. One thing I do want to mention is I did route my receiver antenna right there outside the plane, just because carbon fiber tends to block 2.4 GHz signals. Another thing I do recommend is this carbon fiber is really sharp from the factory, so I recommend taking like a metal file or something and going over all the edges of the carbon fiber, especially where you're going to route your wires, because you do have a high chance of fraying your wires, and touching a bare wire on carbon fiber is never a good thing. And because of that, where the servo extensions go through the fuselage, I used these craft foam discs right there, and I just made a hole and glued them in place. And I did the same for this one back here. I don't know if I can get a light on it or not. There you go. So I did that just to prevent my wires from fraying in the turtle deck area. So that's good. And then they give you this nice decal here, which is pretty cool. And then basic turtle deck construction with the foam, and it works real good. Then here we have the pin latch for the canopy, so it doesn't come off during mid-flight. And we have the locking tabs as well. So that's basically all I did in the fuselage, or the inside area. Let's take a look at these servos that I'm running. And here are the specs on those servos. I'll get a video for you guys to read that. And these are the Pro Modeler S160 CL high voltages. And here we have the Extreme Flight servo arms, and those are the 1.25 inches. And for pro model servos, you want the 25 tooths. And right there you can see this is the linkage that Extreme Flight includes. It's really good. It's the ball link setup. It's my favorite, and there's zero slop, and it works really great. Okay, so some other notes are the decals here. If you want to put them on, they're stick-on, and you can put on these two right here, and then you have to put on the 3 stars if you like that, and then the cowling up there as well. You have to do yourself. One note I do have, if you're going to do it like I did, I cut it in the center and kind of stuck them to the hinge gaps. One thing I noticed is they just kept coming up, and I had to stick them down more or less every time I wanted to fly it. So what I did is I took a little drop of medium CA just to tack them down, and they haven't come up ever since. So that's something I did to prevent that. One other thing that I have for you guys is, and in the manual they do recommend this too. They recommend taking some sort of wax. They recommend this Eagle 1 Nano Wax, something. I never could find the stuff. But on some forums online, I did find that this Lucas Slick Mist Speed Wax works really great. And as you can see, it really shines up the plane. It really works well. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and power the plane on. I'm going to stick a battery in it and so we can see the flight surfaces go. Okay, so I have the plane powered on, and I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the flight surfaces. I'm not going to tell you my degrees or expos or whatnot because everybody's going to be different, and the manual has some good starting points for you guys. So, one thing about this plane is it has a physically smaller wingspan than some of the other 60-inch ARFs from Extreme Flight. We'll say the MXS is a 64-inch wingspan where this is 60, so it's physically smaller. The result we get is super fast rolling at high speeds. So normally when all my other 3D planes that I go full rate on everything. Well, this thing's got so much roll rate at high speed, I actually did do 2 dual rates for the ailerons, and I'll show you those right now. Here are my low rate ailerons for like high speed rifle rolling or what have you do, or whatever you want to do at high speeds when you have a lot of airflow going over your aileron. So that's my low rate aileron. And my high rate is for, trying to, what the radio says, get it to hover and do rolling harriers and such. So that's what I have, low rate and high rate. As for elevator, I have all 3 rates on that, low, medium, and high. As for precision aerobatics mode, like the radio says, there's the up and down right there. There's medium and high, which is crazy high spin rate, obviously. And as you can see, you got medium, low, high, medium, low, low, medium, high. And then as for the rudder, me personally, I never add dual rates, just expo. So I'm 100% throughout all rates. And my servo's not 100% travel, and it will very easily hit the elevator edge. So plenty of throw on the rudder right there. So, and one interesting thing I want to mention is I am using a Castle Talon 90, but I'm not using the 20 amp EEC. And I'm using a 2-cell 450 milliamp LiPo instead. John Beach is the guy who owns the hobby shop and sells these servos. He has a whole information page on why a 2-cell LiPo is better for these servos than a BEC. It mainly has to do that a BEC sends its power in wave pulses, where a LiPo has a constant power. So for more information on that, I'll leave a link in my description to his website to where you can go check that out. So, and I did actually try flying these servos on the BEC, and it worked, but I did notice when I switched to the LiPo that the aileron and elevator worked a lot smoother, and I gained just a little bit more resolution. And ultimately, I think it did center slightly better. So ultimately, the lipo was, to me, was a very huge difference. And well, not a huge difference, but it did make a noticeable difference. Enough noticeable difference that I changed to the lipo, not the BEC. So yeah, that's the airplane powered on. Okay guys, so we're going to end this review with some notes and then some pros and negatives. So as far as notes go, the Pro Modeler Servos had, and the slots in the airframe when I was putting it together, didn't fit the slots very good. I had to widen them quite a bit, but Extreme Flight does allow you to expand the servo slots like I had to, and it worked out pretty great. And then there's a great RC Groups thread on this plane. Gives a lot more information than my video is probably ever going to give, so you guys can read that form if you want more information about this plane. Alright, and let's go ahead and talk about what I like about this plane as far as the pros go. Obviously the spinner and the wing bag are great touches. Normally ARFs don't include that, but this one does, so that's really nice. And then the build quality, like pretty much every Extreme Flight airplane, is top notch with this one. This one's no different. It's light, it's strong, and it's really good. And then the way it flies is absolutely, these Extreme Flight airframes fly really good, and they allow some extreme throws on the tail and ailerons, and it just allows for just absolutely insane spins, and it just flies super nice even when you dial in and you want to do those long precision maneuvers. This one does absolutely great at that, so that's one thing I like about it. So as far as the negatives go, we do save weight by using carbon fiber in this plane, but it does throw a couple curveballs at you. One obviously being that it does kind of mask 2.4 gigahertz signals. But what I did to accommodate that is I do have one of my receiver antennas outside the plane. So that's one thing I did to kind of, I don't know if it actually gives, I mean, I think it gives an advantage. I don't have the proof of it, but it's one thing I did just to be cautious and safe. And then one thing I really wish that the manufacturer did do is around the edges on the carbon fiber. It's really sharp, and if you don't use either the craft foam or use the file to round down the carbon fiber edges, you do have a high chance of fraying one of your wires and having a wire actually getting in contact with carbon fiber, which is never ever a good thing. And then my last other nitpick is that this manual here, it is, I mean, you can use it to build the plane, but it's for version 1. I kind of wish they would tell you how to install version 2's elevator system, because this obviously is the old way to do it. Right here, where it's a key in and push in slot and you don't have to measure it. But one thing I did find, if you do want information on it, is Extreme Flight does have a manual on their version 2 Extra 300 that does have an addendum about that elevator system, so you can go check that out. And then one other thing that the manual does not mention is the landing gear fairings right there. It doesn't mention how to install them or what glue to use. I use silicone-based glue like shoe glue, and then it also obviously kind of blocks off the star there, which is kind of a disappointment there. But it's something you could fly with it on, or you can fly with them on or off. It's your choice. So I will have links to the RC group thread, and then when I get a flight video, I will leave a link in the description to the flight video as well. So that about does it for the review on the 60-inch laser EXP from Extreme Flight. Definitely recommend it. It's a great flying plane. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.